The narrative begins with Yun Seo, a diligent woman who only has a temporary contract at her job and has not been paid her salary for the month. When she approaches a colleague to inquire about her late salary, she is informed that the approval for her payment has not been sent to the financial department and advises her to speak with Nam. Upon speaking with Nam, she learns that it is the day for the company's contract renewal, and if she can persuade the well-known actor Junhyuk to renew his contract, she will be offered a permanent position at the company. He instructs her to fetch a cup of coffee for him, and she agrees. Yun Seo leaves to get the coffee and pancakes for the manager. When she hands it to him, she inquires about the price, but Nam tells her not to worry about such trivial matters until the contract with Junhyuk is finalized. Just then, Junhyuk arrives at the company to discuss renewing his contract for marketing the company's coffee. However, upon reviewing the contract, he feels uneasy and chooses not to sign. However, when he encountered Yun Seo at the door, he requested to leave, but she realized he hadn't renewed his contract, so she attempted to prevent his departure. Despite her efforts to stop him, he pushed her aside and exited the company. Upon seeing the manager in the meeting room, he inquired about why she didn't intervene to halt Junhyuk's departure. Despite this, CEO of the company ultimately fires Yun Seo for her role in the incident. That night, she is seen drinking with her manager and co-workers as they brainstorm solutions. While her manager briefly leaves to use the restroom, she seizes the opportunity for revenge. Following him outside, she strikes him on the head with her shoe, only to realize it is not her manager but someone else. She approaches the man lying on the ground and realizes that he is Junhyuk. This discovery shocks her, leading her to believe that he is already deceased. A passerby inquires about her boyfriend's condition, prompting her to carry his body back to her house. Unexpectedly, she runs into her neighbor Nate-gu and is forced to fib by claiming that Junhyuk is a drunk relative. After Nate-gu leaves, she brings Junhyuk inside her apartment. Exhausted, she falls asleep next to him and awakens convinced that he has passed away. She chooses to conceal his body on a nearby shore before facing arrest. Lighting candles, she sits next to him and expresses regret for her actions, believing they were unintentional, but still wishes him peace. Opting to use chemicals to hide the body, she begins working on it immediately. Upon entering his room, she is shocked to find him awake, resulting in both of them screaming in confusion. In a panicked state, he attempts to escape the apartment, but is struck on the head by a naked goo substance and loses consciousness once more. Nate-gu becomes anxious when he mistakenly believes Yun Seo is a thief. He urges her to call an ambulance, but she reassures him that everything is fine and leads him back into her apartment. Yun Seo is overjoyed to see that Junhyuk is alive, but he wakes up the next day to find himself bound. Upon recognizing Yun Seo, he pleads with her to set him free. In desperation, he cries out for help, prompting her to gag him with his sock. CEO Kim from Junhyuk's company was wondering about his whereabouts when suddenly Junhyuk's rival, Mir, entered the room. Mir informed CEO Kim that Junhyuk's girlfriend, Sira, was holding a press conference to announce that Junhyuk had been kidnapped. This news made CEO Kim panic as he believed such an announcement would have detrimental effects on the company's reputation as well as Sira's career. CEO Kim reminded Sira that she was considered a failure as an actress and only worked because she was Junhyuk's girlfriend. He instructed Sira and Mir to keep the situation a secret and to announce that Junhyuk was actually sick and in the hospital. Junhyuk assures Yun Seo that he will not make any noise at her place, which prompts her to remove his sock. He inquires about the reason for her kidnapping him, to which he explains the entire story. Yun Seo reveals that she was too frightened to take him to the hospital due to his celebrity status. She apologizes and seeks forgiveness, with Junhyuk eventually forgiving her and asking to be set free. As Yun Seo gets up to fetch a pair of scissors, she inadvertently reveals a box containing chemicals that were intended to conceal his body's odor. He is taken aback, and just as he is about to scream, she stuffs a sock in his mouth once again. She informs him that she had no idea he was alive and swears that she never intended to be a part of his life. This revelation leaves her feeling extremely nervous and unsure of what to do next. Meanwhile, Nate-gu reads in the newspaper about the famous actor Junhyuk being hospitalized, realizing that he is the same person staying in Yun Seo's apartment. Simultaneously, a police officer proceeds to the location where Junhyuk was last spotted, and after checking the surveillance footage, he observes a girl carrying Junhyuk on her back, but her face is not visible. Yunseo receives a call from her company instructing her to collect her final paycheck. While leaving, she encounters Nate-gu, who questions why Junhyuk is present, prompting her to fabricate a story. She then departs to receive her salary. Meanwhile, Nate-gu enters the apartment, and upon seeing him, Junhyuk discloses his identity as the renowned actor Junhyuk, requesting assistance in leaving the premises. Nate-gu feels sorry for him and frees his legs as he exits the room, shouting with joy that he is finally free. However, when Yunseo arrives, he informs Nate-gu that she had abducted him. Nate-gu chuckles, admitting that she was correct. In a flashback, we witness her telling Nate-gu that her relative is an obsessed fan of Junhyuk, having undergone surgery to resemble him and mimicking his behavior. This is why she restrained him, to prevent any issues. Upon realizing that Junhyuk believed her story, he realizes that Nate-gu is quite gullible. Nate-gu escorts him back inside, adjusting his tie even more tightly, advising her to keep a close eye on him. Upon his departure, she silences him with another sock in his mouth. Later that night, she attempts to persuade him to eat, but he declines, accusing her of attempting to take his life and vowing not to forgive her. In the middle of the night, he tries to escape, but Yunseo awakens and stops him. She effortlessly carries him and throws him back, revealing herself to be a wrestling champion. Junhyuk loses consciousness, causing Yunseo to once again think that he has died. She carries him to bury him in the mountains, but he unexpectedly regains consciousness. He yells at her and escapes, but ends up crashing into a tree and fainting once more. Upon waking up, he finds himself tied up in her house once more. He angrily informs her that he is a famous actor and the whole of Korea must be looking for him. However, they both watch a news report on TV about him being at the hospital, which reassures Yunseo. The scene then shifts to the police officer with Mir, showing him a picture of Yunseo and asking if he knows her, to which Mir denies having any knowledge of her. During the night, Junhyuk attempts to flee but is restrained by Nate-gu, who secures him with chains. Yunseo then looks up ways to make amends and decides to entice Junhyuk into forgiving her. She purchases a revealing dress, enters the room, and playfully tries to kiss him but hesitates at the final moment. Feeling overheated, she tries to open the window, which is broken, causing her to almost fall. Yunseo requests assistance from Junhyuk, who ultimately saves her. He informs her that she deserves it, as no matter what she does, she can't make him fall in love with her or even forgive her. Upon realizing this, Yunseo makes the decision to travel outside of Korea. Yunseo inquires Junhyuk about living in Vietnam, and he responds that with 5 million she can sustain herself there for 3 months. Yunseo resolves to work tirelessly for 6 months to earn the money, then set Junhyuk free and embark on her journey. She instructs Junhyuk to reside with her for 6 months until he uncovers her true identity, at which point she will release him. Junhyuk and Yunseo reach an agreement for a 3-month contract and sign it together. He specifies that she must provide him with the desired food and clothes, to which she complies. Post-signing the contract, Yunseo contemplates on how to gather the necessary funds, while Junhyuk strategizes on finding an opportunity to escape. She starts taking up odd jobs and pays Nate-gu to keep an eye on Junhyuk for a fee of $7 per month. Later on, Junhyuk requests for new clothes, prompting Yunseo to obtain some from clothing donation boxes. However, upon seeing the clothes, Junhyuk expresses dissatisfaction, labeling them as old and torn, and provides her with a store name to purchase from. As she leaves, she encounters 2 police officers who mistake Junhyuk for her intoxicated partner. Soon after, a detective shows them a photo of Yunseo, and they confirm knowing her. He attempts to trail her but loses sight of her. Meanwhile, at home, Junhyuk admires his new attire but declines the meal she prepares, instead providing his preferred recipes. Yunseo puts in a lot of effort cleaning cars and bathrooms. She comes back home exhausted at night and pays Nate-gu for looking after Junhyuk. She then purchases food for Junhyuk and prepares it, only for him to criticize it and throw it away. Upset, Yunseo reprimands him and later finds a piece of the food while cleaning the dishes eating it while crying. The next morning, she buys Junhyuk the coffee he requested, but he claims he does not like it. After a few minutes, she received a phone call from a colleague at her previous workplace, urging her to return to the company urgently. Yunseo informed the caller that she no longer worked there, but was told that she needed to come if she wanted to receive her end-of-service benefit. Hastily, Yunseo made her way to the company, where she apologized to the woman and requested her payment. The woman informed her that her money was with someone named Nam. Upon meeting Nam, Yunseo reprimanded him for his actions and demanded her money. When she takes her money, she sits on the stairs crying until another girl comes to sit beside her. The girl, a fan of Junhyuk, suggests that she seems to need money and offers her a job as a mobile employee in the company. However, she informs her that she must first apologize to Nam, who is the head of the mobile employees department. Yunseo reluctantly buys a gift for Nam, apologizes, and leaves. Upon returning home, Gu informs her that Junhyuk tried to convince him once again that he is the famous actor Junhyuk, leading Yunseo to lose her temper and confront him for trying to deceive her. Gu then goes to the supermarket with his money, where he spots a police officer showing him a picture of Yunseo and asking if he knows her. Gu confirms that she is his neighbor and leads the police officer to her house. While inside the house, Junhyuk overhears the officer's voice. He hurriedly attempts to put on his pants, but ends up falling to the floor and hitting his head on the wall, causing him to lose consciousness as usual. When the police officer hears the voice, he rushes into the house to find a man lying on the floor. Unable to see his face, Yunseo informs the officer that he is her intoxicated boyfriend who has lost consciousness. The officer receives a phone call and departs swiftly. Yunseo then warns Gu not to disclose anything about Junhyuk, as he has been involved in many issues in the past and could be arrested for impersonating Junhyuk. Gu naively believes her once again. Upon returning to the police station, the officer encounters CEO Kim with Seira and Mir, who finally disclose that Junhyuk has been kidnapped. Yunseo's Junhyuk is told that they should leave the house due to safety concerns, especially since the police had visited once and were aware of his kidnapping. However, Junhyuk expresses his reluctance to move. In response, Yunseo proposes that he write a letter in his own hand to declare that he is not kidnapped and can return whenever he chooses. Junhyuk agrees and composes the letter, but includes a covert message hinting at his kidnapping and mentioning Yunseo's name. Yunseo is fortunate to come across the message he left for her. She insists that he write another message. While trying to sneakily place the message on Junhyuk's car in the company's garage, she is spotted by Mir, who questions her identity. Yunseo quickly runs away, and Mir reads the message. Later that night, while watching the news, they learn that the entire country now believes Junhyuk disappeared voluntarily and will return at his own will. Junhyuk is upset when he sees the news. While working at the company, she starts facing hate from Nam and other employees. It becomes evident that mobile employees have very limited rights in the company, to the extent that even drinking coffee from the machine is prohibited. Meanwhile, Gu and Junhyuk engage in a conversation about Yunseo, during which Gu compliments her as being cute, strong, and independent. Junhyuk realizes from Gu's words that he might be in love with Yunseo, but Gu claims that she was the one who developed feelings for him first. Yunseo arrived home exhausted, and during dinner with Junhyuk, he mentioned that Gu had informed him that she had a crush on him in the past. Yunseo revealed that some neighbors had spread rumors about Gu being the wealthy son of a well-off family when he first moved into the building. Believing the rumors, Yunseo tried to win his affection in hopes of improving her financial situation, only to later realize that he was not actually rich. Junhyuk taunted her for being only interested in money, but Yunseo defended herself by pointing out that even a famous millionaire actor would not truly understand her struggles with poverty. Junhyuk stated that he put in a lot of effort to reach where he is, and if she did the same, she would also become wealthy. Yunseo angrily retorted that life doesn't work that way, as she works tirelessly and uses all her power but receives nothing in return. Junhyuk felt remorseful for his words, apologized, but she didn't forgive him. He spent the whole night pondering over what she had said, only to hear her coughing in the middle of the night. The next morning, he advised her to take some medicine, but she insisted that he shouldn't worry about her as she would be fine. When she goes to work, He repeatedly asks Nate-gu for information about her, such as her date of birth, in an attempt to discover the password for his chains. Upon noticing Yun-seo's isolation at the company, her colleague invites her to join Jun-hyuk's fan club with her friends. Initially, she was not accepted, but after sharing a significant amount of information about Jun-hyuk, the other girls were surprised and welcomed her warmly. Upon returning home, Jun-hyuk observes that she is not feeling well, leading him to offer her his food, causing her to question his motives. Before going to bed, they engage in conversation about various topics until Yun-seo falls asleep. Jun-hyuk rises and attempts to guess the password, successfully unlocking the chains. As he prepares to escape, Yun-seo grasps onto his leg, revealing she has a high temperature when he moves her hand. Jun-hyuk decides to stay by her side and cares for her throughout the night. Upon waking up, Yun-seo discovers him asleep beside her and questions why he didn't leave earlier when he had the chance, to which he humbly admits his foolishness. Yun-seo then restrains him again while expressing gratitude. Later on, Yun-seo receives a call from a friend informing her that Jun-hyuk's fan club is organizing an event, with each member required to pay 3,000. Yun-seo makes the decision to sell Jun-hyuk's clothing by posting them online. Unfortunately, Sira comes across the post. A potential buyer expresses interest in purchasing the clothes, and Yun-seo arranges to meet the buyer, only to realize it is Nate-gu. Nate-gu threatens to reveal to Yun-seo's relative that she is selling his clothes unless she agrees to sell them at half the price. Meanwhile, Sira informs Mir that she personally bought the clothes for Jun-hyuk, raising concerns for his safety. Mir responded by saying that he was not concerned, but deep down he hoped that the other person would not come back. Jun-hyuk managed to escape from Yun-seo's house. When Yun-seo realized he was gone, she quickly ran to try to catch up to him. Jun-hyuk reached near the police station, however Yun-seo arrived just in time. They argued and then saw a police car. In order to stop Jun-hyuk from making noise, Yun-seo kissed him, causing his heart to race. She then carried him back home. Despite enjoying the moment, they both started to feel anxious. Early in the day, Jun-hyuk notices Nate-gu wearing his pants. When questioned, Nate-gu responds that he had already purchased them. Jun-hyuk reprimands Yun-seo for breaking the contract rules and informs her that there will be consequences, including having to turn on the TV for him. As Yun-seo heads to work, her co-worker informs her that actor Mir will be signing a marketing contract instead of Jun-hyuk. Yun-seo is alarmed, knowing that actor Mir had seen her leave a message on Jun-hyuk's car. Upon actor Mir's arrival at the company, Yun-seo quickly attempts to conceal her face. Mir recognizes her and recalls who she is. Meanwhile, Jun-hyuk struggles to recollect the reason for going to the Mallet Club on the day Yun-seo accidentally hit his head. After much contemplation, he remembers that he has a scheduled meeting with Mir. Yun-seo attempts to evade Mir at the company, but her clumsy actions only draw more attention to her. When Mir speaks to her, he mistakenly assumes she is a fanatical admirer of Jun-hyuk, which is why she was peeking into his car. He politely asks her to refrain from doing it again. However, upon viewing the photos provided by the police officer earlier, he begins to question if she is truly the same girl. On her journey back home, she attempts to withdraw money from her bank account only to realize that she has no funds remaining. Disheartened, she returns home while Jun-hyuk mentions that he recalled almost meeting Mir before she assaulted him but couldn't remember the reason. Yun-seo remains quiet, prompting him to notice that something is amiss. Shortly after, she receives a call from her landlord instructing her to pay her rent or face eviction. Jun-hyuk feels sorry for her and offers to give her $1 million, but she insists she only needs $600 to pay her rent and promises to return it later. He hands her his credit card, but Yun-seo discovers that his account is empty. She returns to him, informing him that he has no money, but Jun-hyuk believes she did not use the ATM. Following this, Nate-gu informs her that he will be moving to a different apartment due to the rent being too high. Yun-seo sadly inquires about who will look after Jun-hyuk when she is not around, pleading with him to stay, but he declines. Upon her arrival, Jun-hyuk immediately senses that she is distressed. Upon confiding in him about the situation, Jun-hyuk suggests that she could manipulate Nate-gu's feelings for her advantage. He then proceeds to apply makeup on her, admiring her appearance and conveying that she has an influence over him. Despite her best efforts to win over Nate-gu, he remains resistant to staying. Upon arriving home, she is furious and yells at Junhyuk for deceiving her and claiming she is not attractive enough to persuade Nate-gu to stay. However, at work, she is taken aback when Mir selects her as his assistant, assuming it is because of her newfound beauty. When she gets home, Nate-gu informs her that he will not be moving, bringing her joy. She expresses gratitude towards Junhyuk for his actions, crediting her transformation for making things easier. Yunseo receives a phone call from her mother while spending time with Junhyuk at night, informing her that she will be staying with her for a few days. Junhyuk jokingly predicts that Yunseo will get caught and end up in jail. Despite this, Yunseo persuades Nate-gu to let Junhyuk stay at his house for a while. Junhyuk tries to stay at home when he finds out, but she forcibly drags him outside. When her mother falls asleep, Yunseo sneaks over to Nate-gu's apartment to check on Junhyuk's well-being. However, her mother wakes up and catches her with Nate-gu, assuming they are in a relationship, but Yunseo denies it. As her mother prepares to leave, she gives Yunseo some money, acknowledging that she knows about the unpaid study debt. Yunseo returns home feeling sad, and Junhyuk notices her mood. He inquires about the problem, so Yunseo bursts into tears and explains that he is the reason she couldn't repay her debt. He argues that he is the one being wronged, but she blames him. Junhyuk embraces her in an attempt to comfort her, but at that moment her mother walks into the apartment. Yunseo is shocked and ushers her mother out while her mother questions why the famous actor Junhyuk is at her home. Yunseo claims that he is her boyfriend and they are keeping their relationship a secret. The mother enters further, disbelief evident, and asks Junhyuk his purpose for being there. Yunseo responds with tears that Junhyuk is her boyfriend, causing Junhyuk to confess upon seeing her tears. When Yunseo's mother asks why he is tied up, he explains that it is his choice. Yunseo takes her mother aside, who now believes her, unaware that Nate-gu has overheard everything. She attempts to explain everything to Nate-gu, but he refuses to listen and she ends up hitting his head in frustration. Nate-gu wakes up to find himself tied up next to Junhyuk, who tells him that he deserves it. Yunseo recounts the entire story to Gu from the beginning, emphasizing her inability to let him go for fear of him reporting her. She mentions her need to go to work and instructs them to remain silent. When she is at work, her colleague hands her the contract to deliver to Mir's company. There, Mir offers to drive her home and drops her off near her house, exhibiting suspicion towards her. Meanwhile, Junhyuk watches the news where Sera declares that he will marry her, causing him to become enraged due to the potential impact on his career. He pleads to release him and assists in freeing his hands. However, Nate-gu did not set him free. Instead, he informed Yunseo that he is on her side because he trusts her. Yunseo is pleased with this revelation, while Junhyuk vows to seek revenge once he is released. Later that night, Yunseo questions why Nate-gu did not reveal her true identity to her mother. In response, he explains that he would have supported her regardless. Yunseo expresses her gratitude, thanking Nate-gu for his assistance and mentioning her desire to travel if she had the means. In turn, Nate-gu promises to provide her with the necessary funds. The following day, Naked-gu changes the password for the restraints as Junhyuk notices a tool he could use to strike him, though he decides against it, leading Naked-gu to release him. When Yunseo arrived home, she discovered that Junhyuk was not there. Nate-gu informed her of the situation, revealing that Junhyuk had promised not to report her. However, upon returning to his place, Junhyuk was on the verge of contacting the police when he noticed her socks on his feet. The sight triggered memories of a cold night when Yunseo had given him her socks to keep warm. This recollection led Junhyuk to ultimately decide against reporting her. Meanwhile, Yunseo was at home crying, believing that her troubles were coming to an end. Junhyuk sees CEO Kim approaching to check on him, inquiring about his whereabouts. However, Junhyuk demands to know where his money is instead. CEO Kim becomes anxious, suggesting that there might be a mistake. Junhyuk urges him to resolve the issue but decides not to reveal his return until he is rested for a few days, keeping the fact that he was kidnapped a secret. CEO Kim promises not to disclose this information to anyone except for Mir, who is visiting that night as he is already aware. During his time at home, Junhyuk is taken aback by a man who suddenly attacks him, hitting him on the head. This triggers a memory of a previous incident at a nightclub where he met Mir, and upon leaving, he was assaulted by a man before Yunseo intervened by hitting him with her shoe, causing the man to flee. Despite feeling the pain from the attack, Junhyuk manages to push the criminal away and muster his strength to make it to Yunseo's residence. Both Yunseo and Naegu are alarmed to see Junhyuk bleeding in front of them, while the criminal lurks behind them. Upon regaining consciousness, he confides in Yunseo about the incident, leading her to realize that she had saved him that day. However, Junhyuk interrupts her, reminding her that she is still being accused of kidnapping him, so she remains silent. She then questions why he sought her help instead of going to the police, to which he explains that he felt compelled to do so. He then expresses his decision to stay at her place for safety reasons, as he believes it is safer than his own home. Yunseo accompanies him to her house and tends to him throughout the night. She then recalls all the events that transpired between them and chooses to get back at him by drawing on his face. However, he washes his face and approaches her, pleading with her not to repeat it. She agrees, but then hands him a note, requesting him to list down the names of potential suspects. He spends the entire night contemplating who might have been behind the— When Yunseo brings him food, he expresses his dissatisfaction with the simplicity of the meal and asks for something he enjoys. Yunseo mentions that the food is all she can afford, and since he is not being held against his will, he can leave if he doesn't want to eat. However, he agrees to eat and Yunseo personally feeds him as he is still feeling unwell. She then instructs him to help clean up the apartment. While Yunseo is at work, her manager and colleagues are seen inside a cafe while she is outside, taking care of additional tasks herself. When Naegu spots Junhyuk cleaning, he suggests that Junhyuk must have feelings for Yunseo since he didn't report her, but Junhyuk denies it. Following that, Yunseo receives a phone call from Junhyuk informing her that he is hungry but there is no rice at home. The exhausted Yunseo yells at him to go buy it himself. He goes out and comes across a discarded helmet which he puts on, buying the rice. On the way back, he spots Mir inside the house and falsely claims to be the rice delivery person before swiftly fleeing. Encountering Yunseo on his path, he hides with her until Mir departs, and then they both return to the apartment. He then hears Yunseo's cries and rushes to her to ask what is wrong. Yunseo explains that she is facing a lot of debt and doesn't know how to repay it. He offers to pay it for her, but she reminds him that he also does not have money. She contemplates selling a kidney or banging her head against the wall until Junhyuk intervenes to protect her. Yunseo receives a call from her manager asking for Mir's contract to be sent. Junhyuk inquires about Mir upon seeing his picture, and Yunseo explains that he handles the marketing for their coffee brand. Junhyuk suspects that Mir is aware that he is living with Yunseo, which is why he is treating her kindly. Yunseo brings up her debts again, and Junhyuk assures her that he will take care of them with a serious expression. This time, Yunseo trusts him and promises to do anything he asks in return. Junhyuk then contacts CEO Kim to transfer money to his account and settles Yunseo's debt. Following this, he meets with a journalist and informs him of his decision to retire completely. Despite the journalist being surprised, he accepts it. Junhyuk has a secret meeting with CEO Kim and explains that he plans to retire because someone attempted to kill him. He states that in order to discover the culprit's identity, he must convince everyone that he is leaving the company. He pleads with CEO Kim to keep this information confidential. Junhyuk then takes Yunseo to a new apartment he has rented, informing her that the criminal knows where she lives and previously stayed with her. As a result, they must reside in this new residence for safety. Yunseo questions why she should stay with him, to which Junhyuk reminds her that she agreed to comply with his requests in exchange for settling her debts. Naegu has a private conversation with Junhyuk, urging him to admit that he is worried about her, but Junhyuk refuses. After Naegu exits, Yunseo joyfully explores every corner of the house, excited to experience the luxury lifestyle. However, she is taken aback when Junhyuk requests her to clean the house just like she used to with him. Feeling annoyed by his constant demands, she decides to leave, but he stops her and emphasizes that the house is the safest place for her. Later, he He approaches CEO Kim expressing his desire to film a commercial before he retires, specifically for the same coffee brand that Mir was planning to promote. Mir declines, stating that the opportunity belongs to him. Junhyuk insists that it was originally his, and he intends to claim it back. This confrontation angers Mir. Upon leaving the office, he encounters Sarah, who pleads with him to postpone his retirement until she secures a role in the upcoming drama she desires. Junhyuk reprimands her, noting that she only cares about her career and declares that he will not do anything for her any longer. Yeon-seo learns that Junhyuk will be filming the commercial instead of Mir, speculating to herself about the anger Mir must be feeling. Suddenly, Junhyuk takes her to his place without explanation, stating that their acquaintance should be kept secret. On the day of the shooting, Junhyuk appears and captures Yeon-seo's attention. He notices how poorly she is treated at work, including being denied a drink. This makes him feel sorry for her, especially recalling her mentioning her hard work not being rewarded. Soon after, someone is required to climb a ladder to toss flowers over Junhyuk. Instead of selecting Min, they decided to choose Yeon-seo. Junhyuk is concerned for her well-being, but she ignores him. Despite almost falling, Junhyuk comes to her rescue. Out of anger, he escorts her to a seat and instructs Nam to take care of it. He also directs his assistant to prepare a cup of coffee for Yeon-seo. Holding her tightly, he publicly announces that she has resigned. Yeon-seo is shocked and reprimands him for his actions, but he argues that they are mistreating her. Instead, he offers her a position as a trainee actress in his entertainment company. Junhyuk then introduces Yeon-seo to CEO Kim with the intention of making her an actress, but after seeing her, CEO Kim thinks she is foolish. He becomes even more convinced of this when she struggles to perform a simple scene. Upon hearing her sing, they are shocked by how terrible she is. CEO Kim ultimately fires her and blames Junhyuk for bringing someone so incompetent. Junhyuk responds by stating that he needs to place her in the company as a fake trainee in order to uncover who is responsible. CEO Kim agrees, but only if he is the one to train her. Sira and Mir spot her and question why she is there, to which she explains that she is undergoing training. Junhyuk escorts her to the coach who will oversee her training. Junhyuk chuckles at her and then joins the coach for a meal, but upon noticing that he has gained weight, he compels him to resume training and leaves the food for Yeon-seo to eat. When she witnesses his current state, she chuckles at him. However, the coach insists that they both undergo rigorous training. He then decides to coach her in singing, but his voice ends up ruining the song. Yeon-seo guides Naegu over to the piano, and when he starts to sing, both of them are left stunned by his amazing voice. Yeon-seo gazes at him in awe, causing Junhyuk to feel jealous. In an attempt to make them train for a romantic scene, he becomes anxious due to her close proximity. Soon after, Naegu shows up at the apartment, declaring that he will be staying with them. When questioned by Junhyuk, Naegu reveals that he is afraid to leave Yeon-seo alone with him. Junhyuk spends the entire night pondering about Yeon-seo, and finally acknowledges to himself that he is in love with her. The next morning, he witnesses Yeon-seo and Naegu heading to work together, which once again triggers feelings of jealousy within him. At the office, Sira is the one providing training for Yeon-seo and mentions that she is doing so on Junhyuk's request. However, Sira adopts a condescending tone while advising Yeon-seo to wear revealing clothes if she wants to succeed as an actress. After sneaking into Mir's car, Naegu discovers a picture of Yeon-seo and Junhyuk. He takes the picture, but when Mir arrives, he acts as if nothing happened. Naegu informs Junhyuk about the situation, leading Junhyuk to realize that Mir was aware of his kidnapping but did not notify the police. Junhyuk accuses Mir further of attempting to harm him. As Junhyuk goes to call the police, he receives a message from Mir asking to meet at their initial meeting spot, prompting Junhyuk to go and uncover the reason behind Mir's desire to end his life. Yeon-seo receives a message to meet Junhyuk at a specific location. Upon arriving, they both realize they have been lured there and are then attacked from behind by someone. Junhyuk is assaulted, prompting Yeon-seo to try to intervene, but she also becomes a target of the attacker. In a brave act, Junhyuk shields Yeon-seo from harm by taking the brunt of the attacker's blows. Mir enters the scene and comes to Junhyuk's defense, but ends up getting stabbed by the attacker, who then flees. Jun-hyuk accuses Mir of continuing the actions he defended him against, insisting it was all a setup. In response, Mir explains his decision not to involve the police in order to protect Jun-hyuk without jeopardizing his career. Despite Jun-hyuk's disbelief, Yun-seo trusts Mir completely. All of them head to the hospital, where Mir confronts Jun-hyuk for not considering him a friend and accusing him so easily. Jun-hyuk fires back, saying that Mir used their friendship to gain fame, and storms off in anger. Later that night, Yun-seo expresses her gratitude to Jun-hyuk, and Adventure reminds him to thank Mir for saving him. Jun-hyuk then meets with CEO Kim and admits that he initially suspected Mir but now realizes he is not the attacker. CEO Kim later contacts him and informs him that a police officer who is his friend will be investigating the case. During their meeting, the officer begins to inquire about Jun-hyuk's personal life, including his relationship with Yun-seo. Despite this, Jun-hyuk chooses not to disclose his address. Meanwhile, a director encounters Naek-gu and is intrigued by his appearance, mistaking him for an actor. He persuades CEO Kim to sign a contract with Naek-gu, and when asked about Yun-seo, CEO Kim mentions that she is Naek-gu's assistant. Yun-seo learns that she is no longer going to be an actress. Later on, Jun-hyuk reconciles with Mir, apologizing for wrongly accusing him and thanking him for saving his life, and they become friends again. On the way back home, Yun-seo was driving while Jun-hyuk was staring at her and his heart raced, prompting him to tell her to switch seats. Even as the driver, he couldn't tear his eyes away from her, confessing that he was completely in love. The following day, he encounters the officer who informs him that all the funds in his account had been transferred to a different, unknown account. He inquires about who has access to his account, to which Jun-hyuk responds that many managers in the company do. Within the company, Yun-seo encounters Sira, who ridicules her, but Jun-hyuk steps in, cautioning Sira against approaching Yun-seo again. Seizing the opportunity of journalists being present in the company, she embraces Jun-hyuk and announces to everyone that they will be getting married soon. Jun-hyuk glances at Yun-seo and then reveals to everyone that they ended their relationship a few months ago. Yun-seo questions Jun-hyuk about the truth of his statement, and he confirms it. CEO Kim becomes enraged upon learning about the breakup as it could negatively impact the company. However, he is shocked to discover that the video of Naek-gu singing has become viral, making him the new star of the company. Following this, Yun-seo becomes heavily intoxicated and visits Jun-hyuk's room, where she begins speaking incoherently. He attempts to remove her from his bed, yet he is unsuccessful, and she even ends up sleeping there, forcing him to keep an eye on her. The following day, Jun-hyuk was ambushed in the garage, but he manages to flee before the attacker can catch him. An officer then arrives and informs Jun-hyuk that they are close to identifying the attacker. Subsequently, he receives a call notifying him that the money had been transferred to an account under the name Sang, a man whom Jun-hyuk had previously fired as his manager. Jun-hyuk then informs Yun-seo and Naek-gu that he knows who the culprit is. The officer later informs him that they have found Sang, only to discover that he is deceased, and requests Jun-hyuk to accompany him to view the body. Jun-hyuk does accompany the man, as observed by Yun-seo. Upon arriving at the company, she encounters Naek-gu and an officer who inform her about the investigation into the attack case. Yun-seo is astonished and inquires about the identity of the person accompanying Jun-hyuk, leading to suspicions that Kim may be the attacker and the man is his accomplice. The attacker then assaults Jun-hyuk, who struggles fruitlessly to escape. Despite his efforts, Jun-hyuk manages to hide and contact Yun-seo, informing her that he is in an abandoned hospital but unsure of its location. Yun-seo remains with Naek-gu while waiting for the police to arrive at the location. However, she receives a message containing the hospital address, instructing her to go alone and not inform the police. Upon entering the location with Naek-gu, they are ambushed. Yun-seo regains consciousness to find herself next to Jun-hyuk, who reprimands them for their arrival. The attackers then appear, and Jun-hyuk questions the reason for their assault. The assailant responds that he is only following orders before departing with the others. During the night, Naek-gu expresses his feelings to Yun-seo before falling asleep, prompting Jun-hyuk to wake up. Jun-hyuk also reveals his emotions to Yun-seo, expressing his desire to pursue a romantic relationship with her if they make it through the current situation. Afterwards, he falls asleep, leaving Yun Seo feeling bewildered by the recent conversation. The next morning, Sira is found tied up at the location. She discloses to Junhyuk that the culprit is CEO Kim, who resorted to criminal activities after losing all his money. Although she pleads for Junhyuk to come back to her, he reminds her of their breakup 3 years earlier, when he caught her being unfaithful. Realizing she has no alternative, Sira frees herself. She plans to kill her boyfriend before he can break up with her in public, allowing her to still benefit from him even in death. She instructs her henchmen to carry out the deed, but Junhyuk escapes and saves Naegu. The two individuals assaulted the men until they saw Sira threatening Yun Seo with a knife, observing her silently without revealing the truth to her. Yun Seo suddenly overpowers Sira at the police station. CEO Kim expresses regret to Junhyuk for taking his money and promises to reimburse him upon release. Junhyuk chooses to forgive him since he was not connected to Sira's actions. The show concludes with Yun Seo becoming the marketing department head at her former company and ultimately becoming Junhyuk's girlfriend.